Russia says it's rejoining the UN brokered grain export deal with Ukraine. And that means Moscow will now guarantee safe passage for cargo ships traveling from Ukrainian ports through the Black Sea. And hundreds of thousands of tons of food exports can go where they're most needed. It's a sudden about-face, let's say that, just days after Russia said it was suspending its participation. And it comes after Russia's president spoke Wednesday with his Turkish counterpart. Let's go now to Ibrahim Kalin, spokesperson for Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, a well-known face on the show. Kalin, so great to have you back on the show, an important day to have your expertise. Explain this back and forth to our viewers around the world from Russia. It was in, then it was out 4 days ago, and it's now back in again.
Yes, we're very happy that Russia is back in the process. Again, they suspended their part of the agreement on Saturday after an attack on one of their ships in the Sevastopol area. They complained, they protested, they wrote letters to the UN, and we spoke to them immediately. We contacted them because this is very important. This is separate from the war. Of course, everything is related to the war, but sending the grain that is needed to places, as you have just pointed out, is of paramount importance for everyone. So for the last 3-4 days, we have exerted a lot of diplomatic efforts. Our defense minister, foreign minister, and eventually our president spoke to President Putin yesterday. When they spoke, President Putin, rather rightly, raised some questions about this attack, why it was done, and in their assessment, the attackers used the corridor for grain exports to carry out this attack. And putting that aside, they wrote formally to the UN. But in the meantime, we've talked to the Ukrainians and conveyed the demands or expectations of the Russian side to the Ukrainians. And to give them credit, actually, both sides took a very constructive approach after seeing that suspending this agreement will be in everybody's loss, it will cost them dearly. And as a result, they've come back to the agreement. And after the call with President Putin and President Erdogan, now we have everything back on track.
So what demands then, Kalin, what guarantees did Russia want as part of its return? Because I want to play, if I could, just a little soundbite, a little clip for what President Putin said today. Have a listen to this.
In this regard, I have instructed the Defense Ministry to resume our participation in this work. However, Russia reserves the right to withdraw from these agreements if these guarantees are breached by Ukraine. In any case, even if Russia pulls out of this deal, we will, as we said earlier, be ready to supply the entire volume of grain that was supplied from Ukraine to the poorest countries, which is only 4%.
So, Kalin, let me just clarify. I mean, did Russia ask for written guarantees that Ukraine will not use the humanitarian corridor for military purposes? Is this what it was demanding?
Yes, that's what it is. That was what the negotiations were about, and that's what was achieved, in fact, in those negotiations. And we hope that both sides will stick to the agreement, the Istanbul Agreement that was signed about 3 months ago, and we hope that they will carry this spirit to the extension of the agreement, which will come up in about 2 weeks, because it's in everybody's interest. And in fact, we've been saying from the very beginning that as part of the agreement, no military activity should be carried out in and around the humanitarian corridor for grain export. And we hope that this will be the case. That's what the Russians demanded, and that's what they got. And the Ukrainian side, again, has been very constructive with that approach. Our president just spoke to President Zelensky about this, and they went over this. And President Zelensky also confirmed their commitment to the agreement. But of course, their differences, major differences, remain on the outcome of the war, on the future of the war, what may unfold in the days to come. But as far as the grain export deal is concerned, I think it's been safe and secure, and that's good news for everyone.
And you've been assured, of course, that Russia won't pull out of it again. But how much, Kalin, did the UN continue on the deal, Turkey continue on with this deal? How much of that basically call Putin's bluff? Was that an element of perhaps Putin making a decision to return?
Well, it may or may not be, but President Putin has been making a political point about the amount of grain going to poorer or underdeveloped countries, as he just said in the video that you just played. They've been raising this issue. If the idea was to get the grain exports, fertilizers, and other grain products to those in need in Africa and other places? Why are the European countries getting more than almost half of the Ukrainian grain? That's a political point. Of course, it's Ukraine's grain. They can sell it to whoever they want to. But as far as the international grain markets are concerned, when the operation stopped, even like in a matter of 4 days, the grain prices went up. And since, in fact, until then, over the last 3 months, the grain prices were going down. So I think it shows how sensitive this issue is. That speaks to the other part of the deal, which is the Russian fertilizers and grain exports that need to be exported to international markets. The Russians have been facing some issues and problems. There is no formal embargo on Russian exports, but shipping companies, insurance companies, and other logistical companies, they are afraid of secondary sanctions. So they're kind of staying away from doing any business with the Russians. We, as the international community, in fact, we have to do something about this. We've been telling our European friends, colleagues in Europe, in the United States, also, if you want the grain deal to continue and get the Russian grain and fertilizers, including ammonia, go out, to the international markets, they have to be given some assurances. That it doesn't mean that we agree to Russia's war plans or the purpose or goal of this war in any way. But as far as the grain deal is concerned, in order to protect it, I think they will have to be given some assurances, those companies and others, so that not only Ukrainian but also Russian exports can go out, so that international markets will remain where they are.
Ibrahim, let me ask you finally a final question. And Nimian, you and I have had various conversations already this year. And as I've mentioned in our previous conversations, Turkey is emerging as the dominant player in this grain deal and making a big diplomatic push as well. This is something you and I have discussed. Where are we on this? What is President Erdogan telling President Putin? What is he advising him in terms of the war and where the stage we're at in the war right now?
Our president has been speaking to President Putin and Zelensky on a regular basis and advising both sides to de-escalate to the extent possible. I know this sounds a bit naive, given the circumstances of the war, but our assessment is that, and this is what our president has conveyed to both leaders in his various conversations, including the call with President Putin yesterday and the call just happened with President Zelensky today, that there is no really military breakthrough here. It doesn't look like either side is able to have a decisive victory on the battlefield. The longer this war continues, there might be different attacks, different tactics, different bombings and things like that, but they will all end up creating more destruction and losses for both sides. And 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, as we have discussed on this show, we will be again talking about the need to come back to the negotiating table. But during that time, we will have many more losses of life, territory, and destruction and other things. There is plus the nuclear threat, and it's a possibility. Of course, our president has been raising this issue with both leaders again. He's spoken to President Putin about this, and they deny of any intention on their part to go nuclear. And President Zelensky again reiterated their point also that it's a lie to claim that the Ukrainians are preparing to use dirty bombs, chemical weapons, etc. But even the talk of it, is a sign of danger. When the stakes are so high, I think it's really important. It's not only for our president but also for other world leaders, to take a more realistic approach, an assessment of what's happening on the ground. But this is at least what President Erdogan has been telling both President Putin and President Zelensky: stay away from anything nuclear, chemical, but also try to find a way for diplomatic solution. Wars end either on the battlefield, even after that you have negotiations, or they end when the negotiations get serious. We would like to see the second scenario to happen.
Let's hope they were listening. Let's hope Putin was listening to that.
Let's hope
Ibrahim Kalin. Ibrahim Kalin, always appreciate you taking the time to talk to us on the show. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Ibrahim Kalin there.